and welcome to another Silverbird Selection game review, and today's review is the 1987 Silver Range release, Mission Genocide. Now this was a game that was donated to me by Colin from Let's Talk Retro. Let's Talk Retro is a YouTube channel which is very good to watch, but unfortunately seems to have been on hiatus since the start of the pandemic pretty much. So hopefully they'll come back at some point, but thank you if you're watching, Colin, thank you for this donation. This game is particularly rare, one of the rarest Silver Range releases. It doesn't come up on eBay very often, and when it does it's very expensive, so I was very glad to get this one as a donation. So thanks again. Let's now check out Mission Genocide and see what it's like. Let's take a closer look at the cover, and the first thing I've got to say is, not really a fan of the title Mission Genocide. If you're on a mission to commit genocide, I'm pretty sure that doesn't make you the hero, but there we go, that's what they've called it. So other than that, it's actually quite a nice cover, nice colours in the background, the image on the front here, the spaceship over the top of a city, which is presumably obliterating. Pretty nicely done, just a nice mix of colours really, I would say, and the logo is nice as well. Looks like the logo of like an 80s cartoon show or something like that. So yeah, pretty nice, and that logo is obviously on the spine as well. And on the back cover, a couple of screenshots, and I'm sure you would have guessed it by now anyway, but this confirms it's a shoot 'em up of some description, and it says grab those weapons and zap the Bad Star Empire before they zap you. Moving inside then, you can see the usual list of Silver Range games, pretty comprehensive at this point for a 1987 release. And then you've got the mail order info, which we've seen many times before, and here's the instructions. As you can see, copyright Drink Soft 1987. The planet Christ has been ruthlessly attacked by the Bad Star Empire in an unprovoked assault to subjugate your people. A plan of defense and ultimate counterattack must be devised, etc, etc. Pretty generic space shoot 'em up backstory. You must destroy as much of the Bad Star Empire as possible. The codename ZTB, Zap the Bad Stars. You've got some loading instructions, and then the controls, it's keyboard or joystick as you might expect. Hitting fire will launch a missile and hold fire for continuous fire. You must release and press fire to launch missiles. The aim of the game is destruction, unsurprisingly. Skip through most of that and just notice this bit at the bottom. To hold weaponry to your craft, you need to pick up dumps of astro glue, also found in the silos. You must avoid the silos that contain black holes of antimatter, as these will render your astro glue useless and cause your weapons to fall off. So there's some kind of power-up system in the game as well then. There you go, that's the instructions. Let's get on and play the game. Now, I've lamented the loading screens on the Silverbird range games numerous times for being just boring text, but this one takes the biscuit really. Usually on a Silver Range game, if you get a loading screen, it's pretty decent, but not this time. Literally, you've just got it saying, now loading Mission Genocide, please wait, in some red text on a blue background. The clash of the colours is vile. Without doubt, this is probably the worst loading screen of all the Silverbird and Silver Range games. Right then, here's the title screen. As you can see, Mission Genocide by Paul Shirley, and it's got an overview of the different power-ups you can collect there, including the black hole and the space glue or whatever it was called, and also a high score table. Not a very exciting high score table really, is it, apparently. And it just says press fire to play. You can also see the score and the number of lives at the bottom there. There's those power-ups again. It's reasonably nicely presented, but nothing to write home about, and no music on it at all, so fairly dull in that respect. So it says press fire to play, so let's press fire to play. So we now have this introductory screen saying level 1 outpost, give 'em hell, and press fire to play again. And as you can see, it's a vertically scrolling shoot 'em up. Scroll up the screen, shooting the enemies. You know exactly what we're doing here. That's that glue I've just picked up, so every time you hit one of these silos with one of the bombs, you get to pick something up. Different kinds of weapons. There's like multi-way, not really multi-way fire, but faster fire, there's speed, there's shields, and some other stuff as well that I can't remember. Probably better missiles or something like that. So yeah, they've got gauges at the top of the screen which show the levels of those different power-ups. A variety of enemies coming down the screen. Nothing's really firing at you at the moment, it's just different formations that you've got to shoot. Sound effects, by the way, are just really poor. Just some little pathetic sounding laser noises, and also some, oh, I just hit the black hole, which means I've lost all my weapons, excuse me, and I've lost a life as well. That was terrible. Anyway, let's carry on. So yeah, the sound effects are just awful, pathetic little weedy laser sounds, and even weedy explosions as well. So you've basically just got to shoot your way through the level, get as far as you can, and then move on to the next level, I think is pretty much how it goes. Enemies varied, but they all just move around in different formations. They're all the same fairly bland colours as well, two different shades of blue. I think we're getting towards the end of the first level here now. Just got an extra life after getting to 10,000. Oh, there you go, I'm on level 2 now. I'm attacked by a load of fruit. Oh, well, there goes a life again. This is planted the fruit, zap the crops. The background is now a very bright blue, and the colour scheme has gone to sort of shades of green and brown. Let's see if I can get a bit further. Nope, there goes another life. This isn't going well. Oh, and there goes another life, and that's game over. Well, that was terrible. Okay, let's put my name in the high score table. Give it another go. I guess you can't end, you just have to put a load of spaces in. Okay, there we go. Got the second to top score, I suppose, so it wasn't all bad, but it was a pretty poor game. Let's go again then. So, didn't really talk about the graphics in terms of anything other than the fact that the colours are a bit boring. They're not very good, are they? I mean, the typical sort of space shoot 'em up graphics, I suppose. The movement of the ship and all the other things is quite smooth. The scrolling is quite smooth. It's just not very interesting, really. It's just shoot a load of enemies, wait for the formation to change, shoot some more enemies, bomb some ground-based targets. We've seen it all before in far better shoot 'em ups than this. It's nothing horrendously bad about it. It's playable. It's just not particularly interesting, really. So let's see if I can get a bit further than last time, at least in terms of getting to the next stage. Ooh. The main thing, I suppose, is to avoid those black hole power downs, I suppose you'd call them. I wonder how much you can do just by sitting in the middle of the screen and pressing fire, to be honest. Yeah, it's just quite boring. Oh, just crashed into something though. I think the most disappointing thing, oh, for God's sake. It's just boredom that's making me crash into this stuff. Yeah, the most disappointing thing is definitely the sound. I mean, there's no music, there's barely any sound effects, just really pathetic sound effects. That's a much needed extra life. Try and avoid these flying heads. Is that fried eggs on the ground there? I'm not really sure. And there you go, I've got to the second level again. Let's give it another shot. I think it might be easier just to avoid these things. I'm moving really slowly at the moment, which is not helping. Oh, I got hit again. And again, and it's game over again. Oh, it's so boring. I'd like to get a bit further in the second level, so I might just have one more crack at it, just to show something a bit more. Yeah, I'll do that. You don't need to see the first level again. I'll try and get onto the second level with a bit more in the way of lives and see if we can get a bit further in that. Right then, after several abysmal playthroughs where I barely got off the first stage, I'm now at the second stage with 4 lives, and all my power-ups are at full strength as well, so let's see how we get on. One good thing is that you don't lose all your power-ups when you die like that, which these things just move so fast. Here we go. I think I'm going to make some progress here, but I just don't know because... There we go, okay. Some progress at last. Those initial wave of flying strawberries are just incredibly fast, and if you get your timing wrong, then yeah, it's game over, or can be game over very quickly with a loss of lives. Once you get past them on this stage, it's not too bad. I mean, why you've got flying fruit, I don't know, but the colours are horrible as well. The browns and greens, not good. Finally you get some things that shoot at you here, by the way. Some of the silos that have got extra weapons in shoot at you and obviously kill you. Just got an extra life actually just before I lost that one, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, again, oh, that's annoying. Again, it's just waves of enemies that don't shoot at you and the occasional base that does, and they keep flying into the bullets, which is annoying. Yeah, it's just an annoying game. I mean, there's a couple of interesting aspects in terms of you keeping the power-ups is quite nice. The enemy waves are interesting in terms of the variety of different enemies, I suppose, but the whole thing's just so boring. You can in parts just sit in exactly the same spot and just fire away. Oh no, and that's my life gone. So I'm not going to play it anymore. I've not got to the 3rd level, annoyingly. I have got to it before on previous playthroughs, but I'm just fed up of playing it now, to be honest. You can probably see from the high score table how many goes I've had trying to get to the 3rd level and just getting hit by random enemies. It's just a really dull game. What I was going to say was, the other thing I'd noticed was that every time you go through the level, the power-ups under each silo are identical, so there's no random factor to the game at all. It all just is exactly the same every time you play it through, which you'd think would mean that I would actually get better at it the more I play it, but it doesn't seem to have turned out that way. I think it's just boredom. There are places, as I said, where you can stay sat in exactly the same spot in the middle of the screen and just shoot everything. It's just a really boring game. So let's get on and do the review scores and get it over with. So firstly, the packaging. Not really a fan of the name of the game, as I've said. I don't think Genocide is something to be celebrated, but overall the packaging was nice. The image on the front cover was good and the instructions were pretty detailed. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Presentation in game, pretty average. This title screen's okay. It's got a high score table. That's something to write home about, I suppose, because a lot of the games don't. So it's got a high score table. It gives you an overview of the power-ups. There's no music. It's all pretty dull. I'm going to give it a 6. Graphics in game, pretty poor. The colour scheme in particular on the 2nd level is vile. The enemies are pretty boring. The sprites are reasonably nicely drawn in the background, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. It's all just very bland again, so I'm going to give it a 5. Sound is terrible, just a few little spot effects, no music in game or on the title screen, and the effects are very poor as well. It's literally just a laser sound and an explosion. So I'm probably being generous here when I say I'm going to give it 3 out of 10 for sound. And finally, playability. Well, it's not the worst game in the world, but it's definitely not the best either. It's reasonable high score challenge, shoot 'em up action. It's reasonably well programmed. It's got a couple of ideas with the power-ups and things like that, but overall it's just really boring to play. I think I've probably just played too many of these kind of games now. There's been a lot of scrolling shoot 'em ups in the Firebird range, and this is definitely not the best one or the worst. It's just really average, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 for playability. That gives it a total score of 5.6, and it might have been worth the $1.99 back in the day, but when you look at it in comparison to other budget shoot 'em ups, it's really below par, so I'm going to say it wasn't worth $1.99. That's my thoughts on Mission Genocide. Not a fan of it personally. Maybe you've got a different experience of it, and if you have, then let me know in the comments, or let me know what you thought about it based on my playthrough. That's all for this game review. I'll be back with another one in the near future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.